we'll do the live thing first. Like, hey everybody, welcome back to the Bigmark podcast. It's me, your host, Bigmark. If it's your first time watching, welcome. If not, welcome back. Like I always say, if you ever wanted to reach out to the podcast for any reason, let us know. If you want to hear a topic, if you want to let us know a critique or a harangue of any type, or just a hey, how you doing? Feel free to reach out to us on our Instagram or Twitter at the Bigmark Pod, at the Bigmark Podcast. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/thebigmarkpod. There's a few different ways to contribute to the podcast. And like I always say, if you can rate and review and share and like the podcast, that'd be awesome. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the channel. And again, thank you all so much for stopping by today and listening and taking the time out of your busy days or evenings or nights or mornings or wherever you might find yourself in the day. And spending it here with us. I appreciate it more than anything. It's, it means a lot to me, and it's why I do it. And, I love doing the podcast. I always love talking about topics, but knowing that y'all are out there listening always keeps me going. So again, thank you so much. And, today's topic, obviously by the title of today's podcast, is necessarily, the nicest of topics. I mean, we go into all types of different ways in the Bigmark podcast. We did a bloody podcast about death the other day, so this one isn't too far off that. But it kind of made sense after at least the state that I was in last week. Last week was a great episode, but if you guys have been listening along, I wasn't feeling too hot when that podcast went down. It turned out to be a great episode. I made my way through it to the point where I saw fit and felt like I, covered the topic sufficiently, which is usually around about a half hour, if y'all haven't noticed. But, yeah, so, apart from getting through everything, I was feeling pretty sick, and things definitely kind of continued to turn down the road of getting worse and worse. Things turned south pretty quickly. That was on a Tuesday night. I guess that would have been Tuesday night last week. And then friggin' brutal sleep. I was like drinking mad teas and stuff, and like so much liquid, and I made this fucking witch's brew essentially of like ginger and a half a lemon and like turmeric, and I think I put way too much turmeric in it because I tried once making like my own turmeric pills, and I think the pills I made like had way too much turmeric in them, and I'm either have like developed a sensitivity to it, or it's just not good to take a lot of turmeric. At least for me. And, I just like was up literally, it seemed every hour. I think I maybe got like 3 consecutive hours of sleep potentially. But just brutal, felt like shit. And, I had like COVID-ish symptoms, on the Tuesday. And I think I tested that day. I might've tested the Wednesday when I was, no. I definitely tested the Tuesday, and it came negative, and I was like, okay, true. Makes sense. And then Wednesday I was feeling like garbage all day, and then Thursday I was still feeling like shit, and I tested first thing in the morning and tested positive for COVID. So the COVID-19, COVID-23, whatever you want to call it, it is happening. It is out there like we all said it would. It's a fucking coronavirus, so it's going to be around. It's going to be like the flu and the cold. And so 'tis the season. And it's funny because a lot of people are getting sick, and it's just not, it doesn't happen to be COVID. They're just getting other illnesses. I think, again, because we got away from all the masks and like sanitization methods and protocols that were heavy duty for the last few years. All those regular diseases are going to come back. So it's going to be a really mixed bag as far as kind of what people get sick with in this season now. But it'll continue to happen, and that's how it goes. And I think the last time I did get actually sick, which I'm happy, was March 2022, and it was fucking COVID. So there must have been another time. But like nothing major anyway, nothing that's going to like put me down where like I was. So what really tipped me off is that on the Wednesday night I was having like full shaking, shivering, forget what my mom called it, shit. But I said it's like jackhammering, like shaking, like uncontrollably. And that was, like I said, what kind of tipped me off, because the last time I did have COVID last year, I felt that same kind of thing coming on. So it's like a fever type reaction again, just not good. Hot flashes. I think potentially Thursday night, I was like sweating through the bed basically. So I kind of had like 3 nights, if you will, of just like not really sleeping great at all. So it's kind of taken me really to today, which is Tuesday. So like a full week later since last podcast, to start like actually feeling like, okay, like I'm on the other side of it, but holy fuck. And like I tested negative this morning, which is great. I mean, you're doing that at home PCR tests. Presumably they're relatively accurate enough to like I felt fine about going to work today, knowing that I was at least testing negative that way. And there's not that many people at work right now. We're in the transitional period of moving. We're like merging our locations. So we have like two locations in Guelph right now. One location is like our packaging and shipping and fulfillment kind of thing, and then our other location is like production. So we're merging those two sides of the business, if you will, the two locations into one. So there's been a lot of transition, a lot of people helping, a lot of people just like, fuck, I'm going over to this location anyway. And I think a lot of people like live closer to that location too, which is great. It's in a part of Guelph where a lot of people do live. Right now, the other location where I've been at for over a year now is like semi-industrial. It's right by Sleeman, like actually Sleeman. So it's in a part of the town where obviously it's a little bit more spread out. It's a little bit more, not that there's not a neighborhood kind of adjacent, but again, it's a little bit more like sprawl, industrial, like I said, semi-industrial. So anywho, so that was pretty wild for last week or so. And then obviously Thanksgiving happened and couldn't go to Thanksgiving things, and just like kind of had a nice little wonderful reminder of what it was like being quarantined for those past few years. Cause again, it was like, I didn't want to go out and like get other people sick and stuff, obviously. And like my mom helped me out huge. Like, again, it was nice to have, some support that way. But again, Nick, you don't want to, like, even that, it was just like, she was just dropping things off on the porch and you got to like wave. And again, same idea from years previous. So again, not a great past few days, week or so. And, you know, obviously we've all got pretty used to dealing with illness, dealing with things like that. And, you know, it's such a tough thing because, you know, I've always wanted to help people. You know, my mom was a nurse for 40 years. And, when I was a kid, I was kind of always a kid who like either wanted to be a doctor or some type of like medical professional. Got into kinesiology in school. Things kind of like slowly morphed into like physical therapist, basically, in one way or another. But and then from that, after a couple of years in university, also morphed into psychology and had kind of helping people that way with kind of more psychological illnesses. But there's something that's always driven me to, help people that are sick, because again, it's almost somewhat inevitable, especially in today's day and age, but just over the course of history, people get sick, people get cancers, people get, all types of illnesses that are out there and die from it. And thankfully modern science has been able to get ahead of a lot of those diseases. Like it's amazing, how many diseases have been eradicated, and diseases that we could vaccinate for now, and things like that, where before millions of people would just die. We just had less and less people around. So, but sadly, for all those things that I ever wanted to do, people do have to become ill. They have to get sick. They have to develop some type of illness. I worked for a few years as a personal trainer, and that was on the opposite side of things. That was kind of on the primary care side of things, where, there's different forms of healthcare out there. And primary care isn't really even talked about that much, because it really should be the ideal, but it's relatively unattainable for a lot of people. And it's primary care is obviously taking care of yourself before you're even sick. So that's diet and environment and lifestyle and obviously genetic predispositions and all that stuff too. But like being a personal trainer, working out with people and fitness is obviously a primary healthcare factor, I guess. And then obviously like a doctor, if you're seeing a doctor, that's like tertiary care. So that's like you're at that point, you're already ill, and you're dealing with the sickness, or you're dealing with the broken bone, or you're dealing with the, whatever illness or, what am I trying to say? Affliction you might have at that point that a practitioner is then working on you for. So, again, like I said, for all that stuff to work, unfortunately, people do have to get ill. But that's the thing, is that how many people are out there that are sick, have an affliction, have some type of thing going on that they're just living with day to day. I mean, I'm fucking one of them right now. I can speak of, at least I have a physical one. I have this hernia, I have a fucked up shoulder. Gosh knows how many other fucking issues I got in the rest of my body. Like, I want one of those Wolverine full body scans so bad, like that they did in X-Men, the first one, where you just like, it's like an MRI obviously, but like they look at the whole system. I need one of those bad, because I definitely don't have adamantium skeleton, but I definitely got a fucked up skeleton, probably, amongst other things, who knows. So again, and I've done some shit about the hernia. Like I've gone and talked to people, and they told me I had to lose 100 pounds, and I'm still, I guess, so I'm still like in the process, I guess, if you put it that way. But that's just how it goes. It doesn't fucking fix itself right away. A lot of issues, a lot of people have, and a lot of things people just want to take a pill for, or just want to have something that they can learn to live with it, not fix it, not cure it. It's just learning to live with things, right? And I've had friends and family and people who've gotten sick and passed away, and it's awful, and it's scary, and it's terrible, and you feel so helpless. And that goes for mental health too, right? I've had friends, I've lost friends to mental illness, and they're still, thank God, alive with us today, but they're kind of no longer in my life. And that loss is the same. I talked about it in the death episode. Losing a friendship is is experiencing a death of some type, and that grief is real. And it's pretty scary to know that that person is still around. Yeah, you've lost them to mental illness of some type, or they're dealing with that in one way or another, but it's really scary and sad and heartbreaking that they're still around, but you can't get in touch with them anymore. As just as sad as it is if someone is gone for good. And if anything, it's almost weird. It has its own kind of undertone in the sense that that person is still around. Like maybe there's a chance. So there's that weird glimmer of hope instead of the finality of death. But there's that glimmer of hope that things, maybe there is that person still in there, or maybe they'll get on the right combination of medication or this and that and this, and you never know. Right. But that's it. Like, and that's that same thing talking about mental illness right now, it's never been talked about more ever, as far as I know, in the history of time, like in the mainstream, at least talked so openly about. And I think that's great. And, we've made absolutely amazing strides in the treatment of mental health. But, in some ways, like, yeah, we've identified a lot of things, but it's almost like, but what are we going to actually do about them? Right. It's hard to do that. Like, it's hard to feel yourself not kind of live up to the expectations that are put onto us, by society, by ourselves, by whoever that is. And I think that identifying that there's an issue is an excellent start. I think what we also need to really advocate for in mental health is then taking that next step. Identification is extremely important, but then taking that next step and understanding that there are no panaceas, there are no, one fits all drugs that you just take it and everything works, again, like I said before with primary healthcare, right? Like it all starts, trying to lay a foundation that your environment and your lifestyle also then supports things. And it's tough, right? Like it's not easy. And I'm not at all speaking from a place where I think I have everything fucking figured out, but I know that it is tough, but it's doable. That if you make those small incremental changes, you can truly affect your entire life and your entire well-being. And of course, there are many, many different afflictions and illnesses out there that are impossible to cure or impossible to take away daily life. Again, I understand chronic pain and things like that, and dealing with that over and over and day in and day out. And it's not easy. And in no way am I saying that people need to just learn, stop bitching, stop moaning, stop complaining, and figure it out. It's not coming from a place like that. It's coming from a place of, once you identify things, it's hard to keep identifying them over and over. You know what I mean? You got to move past that step. Identification is usually step number one with a lot of different aspects in life. And I think, again, in our culture, we want to highlight these things that have never been talked about, highlight these underlying things, even other, like I said, other illnesses we've been fairly decent about talking about in life, but even still, people are really, really embarrassed or tight-lipped or private about their personal health care, or their personal health status, if you will. So again, I totally understand that, but mostly speaking, people are apt to talk about, migraines or different palsies or different, syndromes and things like that, and Guillain-Barré, like, whatever, Epstein-Barr thing, whatever it is. There's certain diseases that are more talked about than others. Obviously, that's not a fucking revelation. But again, this whole mental health revolution where it's becoming a lot more talked about, I think it's really easy for us to kind of just sit back in that and be like, I'm dealing with this. I'm suffering from these different things. Yes, for sure. 100%. It's valid. It's 1,000,000% valid. Everyone is dealing with some shit that is a fact, and all the power to you if you're able to identify it and talk about it more. But again, like I said, it's not only just about talking about having it, it's about talking about what you're going to do. It's about understanding and really refocusing things, because I think we hang on to those lenses that we were given when we entered the world. We want to see the world through our own eyes. We want to see the world through our the way we were raised to see things. We want to see things like our parents see them or like our friends, but sometimes that's not going to be the fucking case. Everyone has a different lens. And that color red behind me might not be the color red that you see, but we can agree that it's red. And again, there's something about individual experience that we're really leaning into as a society. I've mentioned this a bunch of times before. Individualism and identity politics, it's leading us down this road of individuality again, which is amazing and should be celebrated. And it's great when people have the opportunity to express themselves in a way that they don't feel that they're not being oppressed in any way. And that's what a big root of individualism stems from, is I want to have the freedom to express myself this way, which is amazing. And it's it's a privilege to feel that way in the world. And there are places in the world that you're not allowed to feel that way. You're not allowed to express those freedoms. So it's great. And a lot of people express themselves on behalf of other people too, because they know that some people are unable to express themselves. And that's amazing to be a beacon of that individuality and have other people live vicariously through you when they potentially can't, or they don't know how, or they don't live in a place where they can, or their job prevents them, whatever it is, right? Like there's different aspects, again, even in our first world or whatever, that we, you can't live your truth or whatever it is. And again, there's maybe merits to keeping some certain things under the vest, but my fear, it is, because I don't know, it's an unknown outcome at this point, but I fear that this road of individuality that we keep trotting and keep pressing and keep finding new identities and new ways to express ourselves, our personalities and things like that that in those times where we feel like, hey, it'd be really nice to have a companion or someone I can feel like I can relate to, we might find ourselves at the end of that road of individuality. We might look around and realize that we are truly all alone, because that's what we did. It's our own fucking, I'm the only one with this pair of shoes in this color. I'm the only one with this kind of fucking pants. I'm the only one with this hat. I'm the only one with this hairstyle, the only one with this hair color. I'm the only type of gender this way. I'm the only type of person in the world. There's only one fucking Mark Raczynski on this world, and fuck everybody else who says differently. But then when I'm in the dark and it's cold and I need some, whatever it might be. Maybe it's a fucking global pandemic, war, whatever it is. When we all need to come together and realize, hey, the reason why humans are the number one species on this planet is because of fucking cooperation. It's not because of competition. It's not by individualizing each other and seeking out the best of the best of the best of the best. Yes, that's a part of the human civilization. We agree to that, and that's why we have fucking sports, because we can put that in a nice little box and say, hey, this guy, look at him. He's a fucking specimen, and he's the best of the best of the best. We've aggregated and we've sifted out all the fucking athletes and all the fucking amazing people and all these different sports, all from the world. We have once a year or every 4 years even, we'll do a big fucking contest to see who's the best. And maybe we'll introduce some countries into that too. But again, that exists and sports exists in a microcosm that it's not real. It's fucking sports. It's the world of sports. It's not real. Once you enter that arena, so to speak, yeah, everything seems real in there, but it is only a world of sports that exists within the greater world of the universe of reality or whatever it is. And who knows how many steps we have to take to get out of that, and how many kayfabes and different agreeances and weird secret contracts we have within those worlds, corporate shits, economy shits, all the different things where we kind of enter this world and there's like, oh, there's different rules in this building, or there's different rules in this sphere, whatever it might be. We start to lose sight, because when we really truly, in reality, when we really start putting those individuals first and they have to start making decisions for us, things start fucking going wrong and people start complaining. And again, look at democracy. That is us trying that in the real world of being like, let's elect the best and the brightest. And now it's all just completely bastardized into like who can pretend to be the best and the brightest, right? Like maybe thousands of years ago in fucking ancient Greece, when they were coming up with democracy, maybe they did have individuals that were worthy of leading a nation and leading a people. And you had Socrates and Aristotle and motherfuckers like that roaming around, and all types of other people, and not that many humans on Earth either. But the idea was, the leader is going to lead things, but they're not a dictator. They're just the head of the government that's going to have hundreds of other people involved in it that are also making decisions. So if we were, again, somehow able to get the best of the best people who actually wanted to be leaders, like that's the other problem, is that sometimes when you want a leader, when you think that person would be the best leader, they're probably terrible. Again, Michael Jordan is not a basketball coach. Yes, he was arguably one of the greatest basketball players of all time, but he's not a fucking coach right now. Some coaches could kind of do it. Bird did it a little bit, but even that, you could tell he couldn't fucking stand it. And, again, sometimes the best player isn't always the best coach. So again, all these different things, things have morphed into this whole weird talk about kayfabe. Look at politicians and the faces that they put on and the personalities that they inhabit just to get your fucking vote. Don't even get me started. So again, we keep going down this road of individuality, and when we need to lean on each other for cooperation, I'm worried that when we look around, there might not be that person to lean on, right? And again, illnesses in many different cases can stem. There's psychosomatic illnesses. There's issues, again, like I said. Environmental issues are one thing. Yeah, there's a lot of things you can't control that are outside that happen to you. But there are a lot of things that can control, that you have the ability to control what happens on the inside. And it's not necessarily about what happens to you. Things are going to happen. You can't control that. It's about what are you going to do with the circumstances that you're given. And I think that's what I got to say today. But thank you all for listening. I love you all. I really appreciate that. If you're all sick, if anybody's not feeling well, if anyone has something going on, talk to somebody. There's someone to listen. There's patient confidentiality rules and stuff. If you're worried about it, go talk to a physician. They're going to listen. They're going to be understanding. You don't have to talk to your family, but if you do, they're also there to support you as well. And again, don't suffer in silence. Someone's there to help. Yeah, the Canadian healthcare system's fucked up right now, but get the wheels in motion and keep that positive outlook and keep those thoughts pure and realize that it all starts in here, and it starts in here. The healing process, you have to start with a decision that you actually want to get better. That's huge. Anyway, thank you all for listening again. Check us out, Patreon, Instagram, Twitter, Bigmark Podcast, Bigmark Pod. Like, subscribe, do all the fun stuff. Thanks again. Love ya. Peace.